This meeting is called to order. Certification of compliance with open meeting law. Thank you. Roll call.
Caw.
Here.
Bradford.
Here.
Natrip.
Here. Approved minutes from the January 9th, 2023 Town Board meeting and the January 12th, 2023 special Town Board meeting.
Second, I reviewed those, everything seems to be in order.
Been moved and seconded to approve the aforementioned minutes of the January 9th and 12th meetings. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Approve bills.
I have two again, the general fund and then the tax account. So in the general fund, every couple of years the state and the county does a unclaimed fund process, and I have to go back and look at if there's any checks that have not been cashed outside of 2 years. And we had one, so we had to write a check to the county. Now they will work on getting that person their money for $91.37. Lower Spring Lake, we made the payment to them that we had in the budget for $2,000. Quadient, we had postage, which was $439. A gentleman here in town had lost his house in a fire, I think it was last year, and he came to the board and asked if he could be refunded for his garbage service for last year and for a partial of this year, and the board approved that. So we gave him back $281.93. We paid the Village of Palmyra Recreation Department the $5,000. United States Treasury, we have to do a quarterly report for salaries, and that was $1,675.35. We Energies by the airport was $221.56. Wisconsin Towns Association, Winona and Larry went to that, I think it was last Saturday. And for two people to be at that event, it was $130. Brightspeed was $117.66. Badger Land Disposal was $9,780, and well, I should say for garbage it was $6,717.16. For recycling it was $3,063.27. We Energies for street lighting was $59.66. QuickBooks, we upgraded to 2023. We have been running at 2013 and we were way out of compliance with security, so we purchased the upgraded version, which was $579.20. The town gets money from the state and the county for payment in lieu of taxes. This year I think we got roughly $19,000, and occasionally we have to make payments to other entities. So to the Palmyra Eagle School District, they got $9,791.84. Jefferson County got $6,245.28. We had a couple of invoices from the law firm for $3,197.69. We were charged $3,509.20 for brine from Jefferson County. We had a couple of things posted in the newspapers for upcoming elections, so that was $33.11. Northwest Services, we had several invoices. It came to $32,644.50. Part of the reason that we went with the upgraded QuickBooks is we also got a new laptop for $1,162.80. On an annual basis, the IT guys take over the computer and look at it to see how we are doing for security, breaches possibly and stuff like that, and they made a suggestion of getting a new computer because that one was quite old and there were a lot of software applications we had that we would no longer be able to get any of the updates without getting a new computer. Board of Commissions for Public Lands, we made the very last payment of $32,990.66. Larry Craw's salary was $369.40. Winona Bratzett's was $230.87. Dick Natrup's was $230.87. Laura Lowry's salary plus postage for property taxes, office supplies, and I had to purchase Microsoft 365 because they wouldn't accept a check, so I had to get reimbursed for that. That's another thing that we had to get with the new computer because our Windows was not very secure either, they said. So altogether, that was $3,424.39. Office Pro, we got a new chair in there. Originally, they were going to charge us $500, but because it took so long and there was a mix-up in the order, they gave it to us for $295.99. And then the last item for the payment in lieu of taxes was Waukesha County Technical School, $441.22. And then for the tax account, there were several refunds. Todd Burgess got $243.43. William Beck got $643.44. Landmark Credit Union made a payment on a property that had already been paid off, so they had a refund of $5,801.30. We did the January settlement, so Jefferson County Treasurer got $498,110.90. Lower Spring Lake got $3,448.56. Blue Spring Lake got $111,957.54. We got $202,417.14. Fort Atkinson School District got $13,915.27. Palmyra Eagle School District got $773,432.93. MATC got $916.70. Waukesha School, Technical School got $34,852.99. We had another refund for Gary Rabluski. He made a payment on a property that had already been paid off, so he got $4,274.24. And oh, two more. William Gray got a refund of $3,214.72. Again, a property had already been paid off. And he got that refund. And then Marianne Philo got $775.16. That's it.
That's it?
Yep. Roll call. Call.
Aye.
Bransett.
Aye.
Natrup.
Aye.
Public comment? So they get signed in that one? Wayne Paulson.
I just want to follow up on some of the ordinances that were passed this year, and I've got some questions. What's the status of posting of the roads for the
It's
state?
public comment, we're not answering questions.
I
Public
understand,
comment.
but these are the questions I
And
have.
state your questions and we'll,
Yeah, I understand.
Take care of
I
it.
understand you won't answer. What is the status of posting of the roads for the Jake Break ordinance? What is the status of the replacement of the faded out road signs in the township? And I'm curious as to the posting of the 50-mile-per-hour speed limit for the Parsons Park. I thought that would have been done by now. And the other thing is I noticed that Little Prairie Road has now been posted at 35 miles per hour, and I thought all that was gonna happen on that road was the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit. And the other thing was, I haven't seen any signs up on Newport. That's it.
thank you.
You bet.
Rob Martins.
I'll pass, but I may have a question at the end. I'll pass, I
There
said.
are no questions. You
So
talked
you
me
told-
after the meeting, no questions.
That's not what he's told me.
It's a
the
town
other
board meeting, there's no questions. The town board meeting is for the town board to conduct business. If you have questions, talk to me after the meeting. Talk to
night. I
me.
understand that, I'm just saying that's not what he told me the other night, but that's fine, I'll pass.
Thank you. Frank Sauter.
Frank Sauter, Highway 106, Palmyra. On January 31st, 2023, I sent an open records request to Dave Hefkin, who is the Palmyra Airport chairman, as well as to the Palmyra Town Clerk, asking for a copy of the original purchase order and any paid receipts regarding the skid loader pressure washer purchases. I received a phone call from Mr. Hefkin. We had a discussion regarding this equipment. Mr. Hefkin informed me that the town approached the airport regarding this equipment. The airport did not approach the town asking for these funds. Mr. Hefkin has referred to this equipment purchase as a secondary want from the airport. I also told Mr. Hefkin that I wanted copies of the purchase order and receipts. He told me that if I wanted the receipts for the skid loader and pressure washer, I'd have to contact the town clerk. I asked him why the airport did not have this information, and that he informed me the airport does not own the equipment. The airport is leasing the equipment from the town. I informed Mr. Hefkin that this is not what we, the public, were told by the board. We were told that the airport would own this equipment. I feel item 5 under new business tonight would not have ever or even been placed on the agenda if it had not been for the phone conversation I had with Mr. Hefkin. On 2/7, after learning this, I sent another open records request to the town clerk asking for this information. As of this date, I have not received any response to my request. I emailed the town clerk to be put on the agenda for tonight's meeting regarding my concerns. I received a reply back from her stating that the agenda items are only for town of Palmyra business, and that if I have any concerns, I'd have to reach out to Larry to talk to him. I did forward this email to Larry and again was asked to be placed on the agenda. As of today's date, I again have not received a reply back nor a phone call from Larry. I can only hope that the board will revisit this and are hoping to recoup most of the $82,000 with this lease agreement they have with the airport so that these funds can go back toward road funds. How much is the airport leasing the equipment for and for how many years?
Thank you. Greg Trollmeyer?
Yes, Greg Trollmeyer, South Shore Drive, Palmyra. I have a concern with the last 2 snowfalls. It's pretty, I mean, it's not on every road, but around Blue Spring Lake, it was 2 weeks, the garbage truck wouldn't even come down the road. So, I mean, it's been made sure that that's been forwarded to the board, but I've had conversations with the garbage company, and when I finally got through, they said, well, we're just not going down the road, it's too slippery. So I guess my comments are, A, if we're getting what we paid for, maybe it's time to revisit, and maybe it's gonna cost a little more to get stuff done properly. And B, if we're not getting what we paid for, who goes around after the snowfall and says, this is okay, this isn't okay, you know, this could use better, you know, we could use some more here. I mean, I did 43 years on a highway department, so I'm a little picky sometimes when it comes to garbage trucks not being able to get down roads and et cetera, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Reports. Treasurer.
In the general fund, we had $327,754.84. The tax account, we had $1,216,037.17. LGIP general was $435.50. LGIP fire and EMS was $2.74. The airport had $89,406.39, and the LGIP airport had 55 cents. I will file that.
Thank you. Highway.
I can't answer his question.
Pardon?
I can't answer his question.
You give a highway report.
I have nothing more to do with that.
Okay. All right. You need to get to Hebron, you need to check.
Yes.
So you won't let me answer the question on the lake?
Yeah.
He said
You can address
I can
it.
answer.
You can ask us the question,
No, we can ask.
or we can ask you a
Yeah.
question.
Well, I was gonna wait and actually talk to you. We're trying to use only Brian around there, and I didn't know it, but as soon as I was called, about the garbage, we came there probably within 40 minutes after I got that phone call. And sand and salt it, but around the lake and everything, you're trying not to use sand and salt, just brine. It's a lot more complicated to run, and once it has a and compacted, it's harder, and if you've been in the county, you know this. And at this point, then what we'll do from now on is we'll sand it, but as soon as I sand it, I get called because I sanded. Because nobody wants to track it into their $200,000 garage.
You got no calls the first week with no garbage, right?
No, none. And, but you got that new, it's what, GF, whatever the new person that's responsible for that.
LRS.
Pardon?
LRS.
LRS. And normally I have a school bus number, and they also call me. School buses are usually the ones that have a problem. Since we've been doing Bryan, we've never had a problem with the school bus, because it keeps it from sticking to the ground. If the temperature,
Pretty packed out.
yeah, right, correct. And the temperature is, it's road temperature, not necessarily air temperature. And all my trucks that we use in Palmyra have temperature gauges that read the road temperature. And you obviously know that also if you work for the county. It all takes is shade and the temperature can drop 10 degrees. So what I'll do from now on, but then the people that with the lake will have to understand is that, as I'll just sand salt it. Because the brine only works in a very small window. And this has all been discussed multiple times about that. You know, the window on brine is anything obviously 32 and above, if the road temperature is at, down to 27. If you want to go lower than that, you got to either mix it with mag or you got to mix it with calcium chloride. Then the cost of it per gallon goes up extraordinary. So I admit, as soon as I found out that a garbage truck couldn't get up there or anything, I sent somebody immediately. We're always chasing everything. And I take care of over 500 light miles of road. And I don't normally ever have complaints, and I come to every time, I'm the owner.
Right, I understand.
I go to every single town board meeting so that I can capture if there is a problem. So we will do more sanding and salting and back off on the brine whenever it's even close.
And I can just verify that once we got calls and emails regarding the lack of garbage pickup, the second week, the first week there were a number of roads involved. The second week it was essentially Blue Spring Lake. Larry called Northwest. They were out there, as Ron said, in less than an hour. And we were sanded and salted. And Larry then contacted LRS, and they were out there on Friday morning to make an extra pickup and picked up both trash and recycling very, very early on the Friday morning. So it was a weather-related event. We tried to react as quickly as we could, and I think we did.
And I keep all my trucks indoors. I don't have trucks sitting outside, so we're ready to go at all times. Right now, there's 14 trucks inside the door, ready to be pulled out immediately if we get calls.
I think the problem, with the second time we had a problem was the number of hours that it snowed too. Ron had a delay going out and doing work till the snow quit falling. You can't go up when it's half done snowing and clear the roads, then you just have to go back again. It was just the amount of time he had to wait before he could do anything, and the situation got a lot worse. Is that right?
That has a part to do with it, but it is the amount of just how much you can back down. It does take longer. And like I said, if I'd have known that, I'd have been out immediately. So, if anybody, as a town, if any of you ever have a problem with it, call. Because they get it to me and I immediately, I'll get on it. Yeah, I went down
My
to
kids
work.
are slipping
Yeah.
and sliding all over the ice.
And as soon as I heard that, I ran down there and took care of it. Did you know that also?
Only because
time
the
you
bus
called?
company called and told me my kid slipped and fell on the ice when she was getting off the bus, and then the next week it happened again.
But when I found out,
After you found out, then it was sanded.
yeah, immediately, yeah.
I'm just saying, we got a missed garbage pickup for a whole week too, and they said it was because the garbage truck couldn't make it up the hill, but I didn't understand how that could happen. The garbage truck couldn't make it up the hill, the bus made it up the hill every day.
Right.
The garbage company's been taken over by a bigger company, and you generally lose your local service from Milton and Badgerland, and I don't think we're getting quite the same level of service that
Well,
we
I
were.
called the garbage company directly when we missed it, and they told me that they were gonna be coming the next day, and then they didn't come.
Well, they always do.
Well, do we have contractual clauses on performance with the garbage company? You said we got less service now that they're taken over by
Well,
a bigger company.
I just said the
Just curious.
service, we hadn't had the problem like with the two missed times 2 weeks in a row, we haven't had that, but
Right.
I just think that when you have local Badgerland was from Milton, you generally get better service.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
But once again, if anybody has problems, and I have, all my trucks have my name and number on it, and you will talk to me, I'm the owner. So, if you have a problem ever, talk to me. I will take care of it. Thank you.
Emergency, pardon?
Got his check.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you got it. Emergency management plan.
I just have two things. One has to do with the garbage, and I guess I'm just gonna reiterate what you said, Larry, that, you know, we've gone to a national company. We had no choice after they came and offered us a contract which did not rise from the cost from the year before. Laura called around to see, if you remember, they came to the meeting and they wanted us to sign it that night. We said, no, we'll give it a few months. Laura did some shopping. Literally nobody else was interested in serving us. Everybody is having the same problems. They have staff shortages, you know, and they're all strung out already, so we couldn't get any bid from anybody else. And we went ahead and went with this company, and I think too, I'm probably the fourth person on the pickup. They're usually there at 5:45 in the morning. I think they get you, and then Vouchers probably, and then me, Lisa. Yeah, and then they come down 106 and get me, and I've talked to a couple of the garbage guys, because I'm usually up and about early, and they're young, they're new. One of the guys, if you remember, lost hydraulic fluid all the way from Cook Road down my lane, got halfway out, and lost it all, and there he sat, so we had to help the guy get the truck on the tow truck, what a mess. But I think it's just the difference in the company, like you say, when it's a small local guy that you know, you probably get better service, and I'm not sure what we can do about it. So I guess just keep calling them, and I hope that people will call if they have a problem and let us know, and we'll transfer it on. The other thing I would have with emergency management is, since I'm not gonna be on the board anymore, we are gonna have to do some updating on our emergency management plan to assign the director to somebody else besides me. Maybe we should just assign it to a chair on the board, a position. And we also need to do a little updating to include the equipment that we have to manage the board now, because that was one of the issues. That was a question mark in the original plan. Was, okay, fine, you've got a plan, you've got a place, what are you gonna do with it? So we can now address that. So I'm working with Donna Hookham on updating the plan. I will get that done and bring it back to the next meeting to see if you guys want to do it. That's all I have.
Okay, airport is an agenda item, so we'll deal with that later. Fire department.
Gosh, I talked to James earlier, he said he'd be here. Something must have come up.
The ambulance rolled out 5 minutes before the meeting.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Thank
Probably
you.
explains it.
Blue Spring Lake District.
Nothing too new or startling there. We are, Greg has been monitoring our pumping of sewage, and we're up 3,500 to 5,000 gallons a day. We're trying to track it down. We sent out an email. I've made dozens of calls to people to check to see if they've got a water leak, a pipe broken, a toilet that's running, and so forth. And so far, it seems to be it's coming from South Shore Drive. So we're trying to track that down, and it's not really a town issue, but it does affect Blue Spring Management District and what they'll be charged for the village for that excess pumping.
Building inspector.
I didn't get any notice.
Nothing.
New
Okay.
homes on the South Shore.
Correspondence.
Yeah, we got a thank you note from the Palmyra Eagle Community Band. It says, thank you for your kind donation to the Palmyra Eagle Community Band. Your gift will help to bring concert band music to the Kettle Moraine area. We appreciate your support and hope to see you at a concert soon. Gwen Zarell, treasurer.
Old business,
Laura, before we go on, have we made the payment to the library?
I'll have to
Friends of
double
the
check.
library?
I thought we did that.
I thought we did, I was in there the other day, and she said they hadn't seen it yet.
Okay, I'll double
I
check.
think it was made.
I think so too, but
New business. You don't have any more old business?
No.
Okay. New business, discussion and possible action to approve the request by Chad and Denise Driscoll for a variance to allow for a proposed deck and patio less than 75 feet from the OHWM of Blue Spring Lake. The site is at West 1454 South Shore Drive on parcel 024-056-3312-018. Is Mr. Driscoll here?
That's me.
You're
I'm
up.
actually Chris instead of Chad, so
Oh,
that's all right.
no one would have known.
No, I know, I could just, I can talk about that. So we have, yeah, I'm on there a little bit. So, we have proposed a variance to the setbacks for an existing deck and patio. So right now, we have an exposed backyard with a dated deck that needs to be replaced. Currently, it's unsafe, needs to be torn down. It's not practical, it's not useful based on the dimensions. So we are asking that the current deck is 5 feet out from the house, does not allow for any furniture to be placed on it. So we're asking in our variance to go up to 10 feet on the deck, and then to have the existing patio that is below it on the ground to match that as well. To extend that out to 10 feet so it's covered. And that's not safe too. It has land and stone that's dated, needs to be replaced. So we're gonna put pavers in with a open graded permanently open base. So I think from that standpoint, that may be helpful with pavers. And so we're looking to extend that deck and the patio to make it more useful.
So the pavers are not impervious, then it's got a,
It's the
The rock
graded
can go through
bases and between the gaps on them, it goes down. So many municipalities
sure,
consider pavers in landscaping to be permitted.
exactly.
Right, so,
Motions?
so I'm sure you have questions or.
Yeah, did you get around to your neighbors?
So we did get through some of them, we weren't able to get all, but we did get to many of our neighbors, which I have right here in this
Oh.
document.
Oh.
Yes,
Then I'll take that.
yep.
Thank you.
Did you get anything?
So many of our neighbors are, seasonal as
Yeah,
well.
right, I know.
Yeah.
And not everyone was available as we became notice of this meeting on Friday evening.
yeah,
So
signed it. Were you able to get a hold of Pam and Jim?
he has not been home. I tried yesterday, I tried today, has not been, his lights are off, so.
Okay,
Do you want to make a motion?
I will
depending on his approval?
just let him know that there will be a public hearing in the county. So if he has concerns about the sightlines,
Yeah,
he will have the opportunity to speak up there.
thank you.
That's the only issue. I checked everything out, and you're absolutely right, the deck is an accident waiting to happen.
Right,
So, it's only 3 houses down from me.
right.
Well, based on
So-
that, I would move to approve.
I second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request by Chad and Denise Driscoll for variance to allow for proposed deck and patio less than 75
Chris.
feet. Pardon?
Chris.
That's your correct name, right?
Denise is correct. I mean, usually Denise gets wrong and I'm the correct man.
Yeah, they put, from the county, it said Chad.
I know, they do.
Chris, understand, this is only a recommendation from the town.
Understand.
The county has the final authority.
Understand. This is the first step in the process.
Okay, now we have the people straightened out, so I would
Call the vote.
call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no, motion carried.
Right, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Discussion of possible action to contract Johnson Block and Company for an audit of the town's financials for 2022.
This will be two,
Yeah, they'd like to come in on Monday, next Monday.
this coming Monday.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
they're ready to go.
Okay, I move to approve.
So do I.
Been moved and seconded to contract Johnson Block for the town audit for 2022. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. discussion possible action to appoint Lou Radecki and John Mitchell to the Airport Commission.
Move to approve their appointment to the Airport Commission. They both served. They would like to re-up, and their contract, their term has run out at the end of this month, actually, I think. So.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Lou Radecki and John Mitchell, reappoint them to the Airport Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No, motion carried. Report on annual Towns Association meeting.
Okay, as you heard, Larry and I attended the meeting. I didn't see you. Well, I saw you over at the other end of the room. Anyway, for anybody that's not familiar with it, the Towns Association is probably one of the most valuable resources that we have. And you have to belong to it. Our town does belong, and because of that, we get tons of information and access to informational materials. Back in, let's see, it was the 4th of February, I guess, they held our district annual meeting. And it was held in Whitewater, which is pretty handy for us. And it's just a fantastic opportunity to learn about recent legislation, be reminded of the rules that we must all follow, hear about any new funding opportunities, and also to network with officials from other towns. And there's always a lot of conversation about the issues that we all share, that we have in common, and most of the issues that come up are issues we have in common. This year, the 3 most mentioned issues were funding for roads, the entire issue with fire and emergency medical services, and Wisconsin's broken revenue sharing. There's a stack of papers over there on the table if you care to pick them up. I think I made 10 copies. And so if you're a household, please share a copy. But it just shows you some charts and things for what revenue sharing does. And they talked about there being a few grants available for road construction this year. They're all competitive. Many of the towns said they didn't even bother to apply for the bipartisan infrastructure law grants last year because the cost of engineering before you could submit it was prohibitive. So last year, we did get engineering done. Larry submitted grant applications complete with the engineering studies. We didn't get anything there last year, but he's getting ready to submit them again, are you? You've been working
They did all the groundwork last year on 4 roads, and he suggested that we just apply. We'd have a better chance of applying for the 2 that were more important connectors.
Yeah.
And so he's using all the data he collected last year to reapply for 2 roads.
Okay, you're going to sit down with him and write that application?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it was interesting to hear how other people are dealing with the road issue. One of the towns, I won't say who it was, but it's in our own county here, they rely entirely on borrowed money. So they borrow, claiming it's a new road construction project, which you can borrow for without elector approval, and then they use it for their road maintenance. They borrowed $1 million a couple of years ago, and they said they have no other way to maintain their roads. It's just what they're going to do. So it's unfortunate, but that's what we've kind of been forced, towns have been forced into. There is a little note over there on the table on some of that material, and it has to do with revenue sharing, and that's the last thing we talked about. That the roads, I think I've got it, I guess it's over there on that paper, but roads, the road funds that the state has are distributed, and local governments only get 10% of those funds. Of that 10%, towns get about 5%. And you'll see the information over there, but when towns have, I think 54% of all the roads in the state, and we get less than 5% of the road funds. So we're in a terrible situation here. Revenue sharing has not gone up in many, many years. Of course, costs continue to go up. And pick up a paper over there and read. So if you're concerned about funding roads, the thing that everybody needs to do is go home and call their legislator and tell them we need more revenue sharing. The only thing that was suggested at the Towns Association by legislators was when one of the legislators said, well, we're going to raise the tax on electric vehicles. Well, 10 years ago you didn't see any electric vehicles out there. So I don't think they're going to get a great deal more revenue by raising the tax on electric vehicles. But didn't say anything about increasing our percentage. So we are in a bind for road funds.
The revenue number is the same as it was in 1993.
Right,
And I don't know if the public realizes that.
probably not,
The
but I
number
think it's.
today is the same as 1993.
Thanks, James. Anyway, the legislature to date, next thing was fire and EMS. To date, the legislature has done nothing to effectively help fund fire and emergency medical services. It is undoubtedly one of the most important services that we have and offer. And there has been talk of allowing local governments to use the same formula for paying for emergency medical services as for fire. That would be the ability to utilize special assessments, just like we do for garbage. In a sense, that might be more fair because you wouldn't be paying a percentage of your property tax. You would be, everyone would be taxed equally, just like we are for garbage. So you would be getting taxed for the service. But it would still be a local tax when you think about it. It wouldn't be help from the state. I mean, they might change this legislation, but it isn't going to help the average person very much, unless you have a very expensive house and then you'll see your costs come down. Yes. So anyway, we did talk a little bit around about the room. I was lucky enough to be at a table with the chairman of the town of Milton. They have combined, they have 11 towns or municipalities now that have gone together with the Edgerton Fire Protection District, I think they're called, and there's a newspaper article about that. He talked about the need to stop looking at this from a colloquial self-interest standpoint, give up the notion of needing to be in control, and look instead at the long-term benefit of the larger picture. And they felt like that's what had happened over there, and it's going to benefit everybody. And I think they now cover something like 200 square miles. It's a lot of territory.
25,000 people.
Yeah, 25,000 people. And they have built, the town of Milton bought 7 or 9 acres of land and built their own fire station, even though they're very close to the city of Milton fire station. But I guess it's the way the roads run and everything, this gives a really better opportunity to serve their people and probably part of Ashkelon. Anyway, they serve towns in 3 counties, municipalities in 3 counties, Rock, Jefferson, and, well,
A little bit of Dane.
a little bit of Dane, that's it, yeah. So, I think one of the things that really, got to all of us was the issue of Wisconsin's broken revenue sharing program. And so that's what we really, if you have an interest in calling your legislator and trying to get some action, that's probably the very best thing that you could possibly do. Our senator here is Nass. Our legislator is Scott Johnson. I have to say that at the legislative panel, Scott Johnson was impressive. He gets the idea, he understands it, and for our representatives, he was very encouraging. So that's kind of my report. Like I said, pick up the information up there if you're interested at all. It's got some little facts about towns.
Before we go to the last item, I see Mr. Small is here, and I would certainly appreciate if he would have some report.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to introduce Derek Curley to the board. He's our new deputy chief. He started last week. We also have a full-time firefighter EMT that we've added to our staffing team that started maybe 3 weeks ago. Now that position started, and I do have a mess of paperwork here for you, but just gonna trim that down so you. I got more stuff to do.
I think that's
Go.
good.
Calls.
Yep.
Can you read it?
And
Oh,
then
there's a
second page.
There's 2 pages here. Okay.
Oh, yeah, transports and, okay, gotcha.
I do have a breakdown, a bigger breakdown by month too that I'll hand out in a second, but for time. Our total number of calls we did for fire and EMS was 258. 164 of those were in the village and 81 were in the town. And then 13 of them were mutual aid calls into other jurisdictions. We used 18 paramedic intercepts on those EMS calls, so probably about 10% of calls or so are getting a paramedic intercept. With that, I've got it broken down a lot further than that, as you can see in the report, but to keep your meeting moving, I won't go over that in great detail. Do you have any questions for me?
I do have one, came from somebody else, I said I would ask it. Okay, in our contract, we're guaranteed paramedic service 24/7, you know, that's part of the contract. So am I correct in assuming that paramedic service means that if we need a paramedic, we're hooked up with a
Yes,
paramedic intercept?
Yeah, we have 4 different mutual aid agreements for paramedic service. One with McWanago, Western Lakes, City of Jefferson, and Ryan Brothers
Okay,
at this point.
where do each of those ambulances originate? So if
So
we need a paramedic right here in the intercept funds.
Western Lakes comes out of Dousman.
Okay,
McWanago comes out of the fire station, McWanago. Ryan Brothers is in Fort Atkinson, and the City of Jefferson Fire Station.
is Ryan Brothers gonna stay in Fort?
I don't know. We haven't used them as an intercept in
Long time.
several years and years at this point. Predominantly, it's Western Lakes that comes down, they're the closest, and on occasion McWanago. And that kind of depends on if we're coming off a scene fast and going to Waukesha, we're gonna use McWanago and meet them probably at the roundabout on 83.
Okay. Do you ever come into the town, or do you have to meet the town ambulance somewhere else?
Oh,
The intercept.
they'll come to the scene, it kind of depends, we coordinate that with them depending on if we're gonna be on the scene for a while, they might come to the scene. Or we'll have everything ready to go and they'll meet us there and then just get in the back of the ambulance and go to the hospital. We just did that a couple weeks ago on a call. So it's really call dependent. It's not unusual for us to meet the Western Lakes intercept around Ottawa Lake. But if we're on the scene for a few minutes, you know, and sometimes it might be less than 10,
Yeah,
they can't make it here from Dousman, but we can meet them partway.
okay, that probably answers the question.
Yeah, we try to do it as efficiently as we can.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Come on down.
Good afternoon.
Come on up. You got the floor.
Thank you. I'm
You have
Derek.
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Give you about 20 seconds.
Actually, 2 minutes.
The elevator speech. I'm Derek. I've been in fire and EMS for a little over 11 years. Over half of that I've spent as an officer. Been a deputy chief at the village of Waukesha. I'm also an officer on Western Lakes Fire District and come down here regularly as a paramedic for intercepts. So the model here that's used in the communities, I'm very familiar with them and I'm very happy to be a part of that. I am full-time, so I'll be working anywhere between 48 and 56 hours a week, and I'm going to try to get out and make sure I get around all of the communities, get more familiar, and get an opportunity to meet with some of you guys one-on-one out in the streets. So,
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank
Derek.
you. Looking forward. Okay. Item 5, discussion and possible approval of the lease of the town's Bobcat and equipment to the airport.
I think we've all seen it and read it, I'll send everybody a link.
Yep.
Seen it? Has anybody, any problems with it? I'm gonna.
I will second that motion. I've reviewed it and I don't see any problems at all.
Moved and seconded to approve the Bobcat lease of the airport. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carried.
Since we did that, I'd like to talk about the Bobcat a little bit.
Pardon?
I'd like to talk about this.
Okay.
Because I think there's been I guess I could have done it before we voted, but there's been a lot of misinformation bandied about, both on social media and in emails to town board members. Although this has been addressed on the website and in the Palmyra Enterprise, I want to make one more attempt to explain why this board decided purchasing a skid steer for town and airport use was a reasonable, lawful, and appropriate use of funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. At the Town Association's district meeting last spring, Dick and I were there, we received hours and hours of instructions concerning the appropriate use of ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act. ARPA is the initials for it. When the final rules were published, we also attended 2 webinars concerning the same. Over and over, we learned that ARPA funds, one, are a one-time windfall In other words, non-recurring fund, and should be applied to one-time investments. ARPA funds should be targeted to long-term assets which can be used over many years. A skid steer for town and airport use is a long-term asset. It's a public safety use, and it's the sort of thing encouraged by the American Rescue Plan Act. First, you insisted that we should have used the money from the ARPA funds to pay the additional $73,000 for the 2022 service from the village, a debt claimed by the village as a condition for giving us a contract for 2023. The rules in the ARPA law are very specific that ARPA funds cannot be used for debt service. There is no way that we could have legitimately paid that $73,000 out of our ARPA funds. Therefore, the town paid that claimed debt from our savings account, our LGIP, Local Government Investment Pool, LGIP. Now, I see in here that several of you continue to insist that we should have used the $82,000 that we purchased the equipment with from the ARPA funds to replenish the money we moved from the road budget to the fire and EMS budget due to the electorate voting down a levy increase. An increase that we requested to fund the doubling of the fire and EMS costs